Okay, we will now start the first session. Our first speaker is Guy from IBM.
Good afternoon to everyone. So in my short session, I will try to give you a broad view and some teasers about why and how social analytics is important inside the enterprise. So Web 2.0, social media are all about the people. People become the ones who play more and more important role in the web by creating content, creating metadata, connecting to each other. And this phenomenon is the basis for big data because everyone becomes an author, everyone becomes a tagger, a commenter, and much more data is being created on the web. Inside the enterprise, the Web 2.0 technologies have also been adapted. So essentially, each technology you see on the web for social networking sites, microblog sites, blogging, wikis, are infiltrating also with a few years of delay the enterprise. And they all have a little bit of a twist inside the enterprise. IBM specifically was one of the first companies to adopt social inside the enterprise, already in the beginning of the previous decade. And essentially more and more of the social technologies have been adopted in IBM already in the middle of the previous decade. So today we have a pretty much mature environment inside the company that allow employees to share and interact behind the firewall. Now, I guess the first question that comes to your mind is, why do you need at all social media behind the firewall? Why can't the employees of a company use Twitter? Why can they not use Facebook and YouTube and other social sites for sharing and interacting? And the main answer is that they have to use both. They will still use Twitter and YouTube and Facebook, but oftentimes they also need similar mechanisms to share and interact with information that needs to be kept behind the firewall. For example, social bookmarking. Today it's not a big or very modern social technology, but at the time there used to be a lot of hype around it. You may remember Delicious, and we will not get into the reasons why it's not so popular today. But you know, the basic need for social bookmarking inside the enterprise came from the fact that we have an intranet inside the enterprise. We have web pages of our own behind the firewall, and people need to bookmark those too. And Delicious wasn't able to allow that, so a similar service was created inside the enterprise. Microblogging. Sometimes employees want to talk about topics that cannot be discussed outside for security reasons, for confidentiality reasons. They want to share those behind their firewall. This is why a service for microblogging inside the enterprise has been created. So you get what I mean, sharing files, sharing videos, sharing photos, all of it has special need behind the firewall for being able to share and interact with information that is company specific. Now, these applications, and a lot of studies have been done around that, these applications, once they are adapted behind the firewall, they usually get a special twist. For example, I mentioned social bookmarking before. When social bookmarking was adopted quite extensively inside IBM, it very fast became an important catalyst for enterprise search. So enterprise search is quite different than web search. Web search, we have Google, we have PageRank. It works. Today, PageRank, of course, is just the basics, and the users are becoming also the main factor when they do the search. But still, web search works. As opposed to it, enterprise search does not work so well. Those of you who work inside big organizations may have noticed this issue. And this is because the traditional link analysis algorithms are not appropriate so much for an enterprise scale because there are not enough links, there's not enough density in the enterprise graph. So, put it simply, the traditional PageRank would not work as well in the enterprise as on the web. And apparently social bookmarking, allowing employees to tag web pages and symbolizes to us meaning the ones who want to implement a search engine inside the enterprise, symbolize to us what pages are important, valid, and even associating these pages with tags. They made a different change, an important change that allowed us ultimately to improve enterprise search dramatically. And today, a lot of the approaches for enterprise search are relying on social, on users' input on the pages. Because when employees give us this kind of input, we can know how to rank the web pages inside the enterprise much better. So I just wanted to give this example to let you know that social inside the enterprise or behind the firewall has its own twist, its own importance, and it is used differently than applications on the web, although the applications themselves are quite similar. Once social infiltrates the enterprise, the same problem occurs as on the web. Quite fast you reach to a social overload issue. A lot of employees are creating a lot of information, and now the question comes from, one, how do you filter the most interesting part of the social information for the single employee, so each employee gets the interesting part of it in a more accessible way. And on the other hand, as an organization, how you can take advantage of this social data to gain insight on the organizational level, to understand, for example, how communities interact with each other, what are the recent trends, what is the recent sentiment around different things inside your organization. And here is where analytics, so what we call social analytics, come to aid. We define social analytics as the analysis of social media data, and specifically in this talk, and this is what we do most of our time, I'll focus on social analytics inside the enterprise, which is essentially the analysis of data that is derived from social media inside the enterprise. The concept of social business, you might have heard about it, a big hype in recent years, sometimes or previously also referred to as Enterprise 2.0, but essentially it comes to symbolize again the fact that the enterprise, like the web, becomes more social, people become more involved, and the relationships between social business and social analytics are mutual. On the one hand, social business creates a lot of new forms of data and metadata for social analytics to be applied on in a more clever way. And on the other hand, social business relies on social analytics to succeed, because a new social business application, in order to succeed, if it will not apply smart analytics, it might be doomed to fail. And I'll explain a little bit in a nutshell later on. And so in the rest of the talk, I'll give you a glimpse at what we've done in my group inside IBM in the recent years regarding social analytics in the enterprise. The basis for it, and this is fascinating, but I'll only give you a glimpse, and I'll refer you to some of our papers to read more, if in case you will find it interesting. But behind all of the analytics we do stands a model that we created for the relationships between people, documents, and terms. Again, the Web 1.0 model was more about terms, documents, and relationships among them. Web 2.0, people come into play, and all those relationships are becoming important. People-to-people relationships, people to documents, people to terms. And we created essentially an aggregation model that knows how to crawl different social media data sources inside the enterprise and build a rich map of these kind of relationships that originates from all kinds of different applications. So for example, if we are talking about this edge, people-to-people relationships, we have a way to derive many types of people-to-people relationships that stem from many types of applications. For example, a blogging application tells us who comments to whom on the blog, right? And a wiki application will tell us who edits with whom. And some applications have a lot of different types of relationships. For example, we have an application for sharing files where people can upload the files, other people can download them, other people can share with yet other people those files. So all these kinds of interaction can allow us to derive a lot of different types of relationships, and each type of such a relationship may have different implications. Some may imply familiarity of two employees to each other, other may imply similarity between two employees, yet other may imply interest of one employee in another employee. And all those different nuances are important when we try to do social analytics. So in fact, what I will not refer to at all in this talk is some of our work around deriving people-to-people relationships, but we have done some work around that, and again, came into conclusion that familiarity versus similarity versus interest is important. So in the rest of my time, which is not a lot of time, I'll try to give a few of the examples of what kind of social analytics we have done, and I included references here to the corresponding papers, and I'll be happy to share the presentation on the website of the conference or in any other means. So again, those who find specific bits interesting can go to each of these bits and read the more deep science behind those, because here I can only give the teasers. So the first application that we created was social search. And again, I kind of implied to it before. With social media data, we have means to improve dramatically search inside the enterprise. We can return documents based on people who voted on them. Voted may mean bookmarked them, tagged them, commented on them, liked them, pointed at them when they wrote a tweet or an enterprise tweet, and so on and so forth. This allows us to create a much better ranking inside the enterprise. And in social search, we use this information to improve the document ranking in our search engine. But as you can see also in this type of social search application, we do not only return the related documents to your query, we will also return the related people and the related tag. You can see it on the left side of the screen. So if, for example, you look for a kind of a project inside the enterprise, we would show you the different documents that relate to it, the people that relate to it, the tags that relate to it. So you can learn, you can get a more comprehensive picture about this project, learn more about it than in traditional search. And also we use our model to show you specifically the intra-relationships between the entities on the screen. So right now you are hovering on these first document results, highlighted in yellow, and you will see on the screen the people who are related to it, the tags that are related to it, and with people you will actually even see the type of relationship each of them is related to the document. So you can learn a lot about the results, why they make sense. Your trust with the system is increased because you understand the logic a little bit better. And this search application has become quite popular, not only inside IBM, but also it became the actual IBM product search engine. IBM, I did not come here to sell IBM products, but IBM is a leading product in social media, in enterprise social media, and this has become the basis for the search. Because again, the customers today, when they have social media inside the enterprise, they need smart search. There are more and more documents, there is more and more information, and users must be able to search it effectively. Next are recommendations, in which we have become, I guess recommender systems have become one of the key specialty area of our group. And specifically, we developed algorithms and systems for recommending both people and content of social media. So let's start with people. This specific widget that I show on the screen is a widget that recommends people to connect with. Today, you are familiar with this kind of recommendation from Facebook and LinkedIn, and essentially every social network sites would have a people you may know widget. But we, on the academy world, by the way, we were the first to publish work around the importance of people recommendation on social network sites. And our recommendation capabilities are a bit more elaborated than what you see on classic social network sites. We provide a lot of explanation to each recommendation, as you can see on the screen. So once we discover that someone should be recommended to you to connect with, we will tell you why. We will tell you that you have documents in common, you interacted with each other through blogs, through wikis, you are members of the same communities. We provide a lot of evidence to the users. This kind of transparency is possible, by the way, because of the public nature of social media data, right? If it was email, we would have more problem to expose this kind of information because it would be considered a little bit more sensitive in terms of the user. And so we provide this kind of explanations, and we found out in our study that these kind of explanations make employees feel more comfortable sending invitations to other employees because they say, they see the explanations and they say, hey, I really do have a good excuse to send an invitation to this person. And we found out that even people who are not so much keen about taking part in this social game of sending invitations inside the enterprise, with this kind of widget, they become active and started connecting actively to other employees in the organization. So this specifically is a widget for recommending people you know. We've also done work on recommending people you don't know, recommending strangers in the enterprise, which is a much more difficult task, but in case you succeed, it can be more rewarding because you can get to know someone you didn't know before. The second type of recommendation is content recommendation, again bringing us back to the social overload problem. A lot of information out there. Users of social media inside the enterprise needs to get the most relevant information, the most relevant blogs, communities, files, wikis to them. We developed a mechanism that is based on common people and common tags to recommend content. We combined familiar people and similar people, and one of the key research questions was which is better for recommendation, the people you know in the organization or the people who are similar to you. Each of them, if you would think about it, can have a good case for making why it would be better served for recommendations. So if you want to see the details of this research, you can refer to this kind of references, both regarding the people and content recommendations, but I cannot say more in the scope that we have here. Personalization, again, a very important aspect in the social business era. Personalizing everything essentially is very important, so each employee gets a different view of everything they see that is tailored to their interests and their preferences. Specifically here is some personalization we created of profile pages of employees. So our system, our social network site would have profile pages of other employees that you can view, and our personalization techniques would show you how you are connected to the person who you are viewing, what is the right social path you want to take to reach out to that person, and what things in common you have with this person. And we discovered that a lot of people forget about the things in common, and they have them when they see a profile page. For example, they get a reminder, oh, we did interact in a blog, in a wiki before, so I do have something in common with that person. Social network analysis is a classic application of analysis of social media data. Traditionally, it was done before the social media era based on data that derived from interviews, survey, later on email. But of course, in the social media era, we have a lot of good ways to build social graphs and help to people when getting to scenarios in organizations such as team building. You want to build a team, or you search for experts around the topic and you want to see how these experts are connected to each other. You want to see where the gaps are between groups in the organization and who the bridge people are, who are the people with most centrality. For example, all of this can be done with types of social network analysis. Expertise location, I mentioned it before with respect to social network analysis, but essentially in the social business era, there are better ways to derive expertise location. Expertise location is one of the killer scenarios inside organizations, big organizations, how to find the people who are experts in a topic. This has traditionally been a huge problem in the organization. With social media, we have potentially means to do this better because there is a lot of public information, a lot of associations of people to content. I mentioned some of it before. People are creating public files, they share files with each other, they create bookmarks, they tweet, they edit wikis. All of these kinds of different documents and associations with them create opportunities to understand better expertise. And in our research, those of you who will come to Rio de Janeiro in May will have a chance to hear about this research. We compared all these different kind of content types and association to content in terms of how they can imply both expertise and interest in a topic. And last but not least, the activity stream. It's again a fascinating area that I only have the time to give you the teaser on. The activity stream is the summary of user activity in social media. You may be familiar with it from Facebook. Facebook newsfeed is an activity stream. It tells you your friend has uploaded a photo, another friend connected with yet another friend, another friend wrote a status, and another friend shared a link. Inside the enterprise, we also have an activity stream, which is the log of use of employee activity in social media. Inside IBM, we have an activity, a public activity in this stream every 2 seconds today. And it becomes a great source of information, both for a single employee, for me to understand what is being done in the company, and for the organization as a whole, for HR people, for IT people, for sales people, to understand the trends, the sentiment around different topics inside the organization. And in terms of analytics, it also poses a lot of challenges, how to extract topics and trends, how to analyze sentiment and combine it with the topic and trend extraction, and so on. So overall, this was just a quick overview of some of the social analytics work that we have done recently. I hope I gave you the sense of why this is so fundamental to the organization today and why there is so many opportunities around it today. I'll be happy to take 1 or 2 questions, I guess, and again, you can follow up by going to our actual papers for the more deeper stuff.
Thank you.
Hi. My name is Guy, I work for TCI. What I wanted to ask you, if you're taking the other guy Shani's example from before, then he could show an actual return on investment. I mean, the people work according to his system sell more. And what I'm interested in, because this is what I do for a living, is how can you prove that all of these tools are in some way beneficial to the organization? All right, so now those people are more connected, you know who was interested in what. You build teams more effectively, but how do you show that this is really more effective?
Yeah, so it depends on the domain. We've done, for example, some work in social travel. I didn't mention it in this talk. So there it's more easy to monetize, right? Because if 2 people due to a social travel application are sharing a taxi or are going to a cheaper hotel, or maybe even save a trip because they know that someone they need to meet is already where they are going in another meeting, you actually save money and you can show return on investment in a pretty concrete way. But most of what I've talked about it here, indeed, it's not easy to show very tangible way of saving money. We use a lot of anecdotal examples. We try to measure for our own accomplishments inside IBM, we need to show savings of money. So we try, for example, to show that if you found an expert, it saved you a lot of trouble and a lot of time that you have wasted, and times of employees is worth of money. There is a study called Return on Contributions, which was an attempt to actually invest a measure that would try to see how much you saved in terms of discoverability of information once you've done a social action, such as tagging or commenting. So you can read what it's there, but I don't think it's the ultimate measurement as well. There is no one ultimate measurement, and indeed this is probably the best or the biggest challenge for social. You know, how to, when you go to CEOs of companies, how to concretely show them how much they save if they deploy it.
Thanks.
Thank you for that
Okay, I think
question.
we'll end here.
No problem. Thank you very much.